Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. You ever notice how the XRP community is always early, but also always right? For years we've said that once the regulatory handcuffs came off, once there was a level playing field and the war on crypto finally ended, real demand for XRP products would absolutely explode. And now it's happening. It's happening in real time. On day one, we're already seeing massive inflows into the new XRP ETFs from Franklin Templeton and Grayscale, which I reported on yesterday. But there's more to the story because let's just say that XRP is destroying the competition, okay? Money is pouring in immediately in truly massive numbers. Not gradually, not cautiously. I'm saying immediately. And that tells you something very important. Investors love XRP's technical attributes, and they love the multiple use cases that it offers, and they want exposure any way that they can get it. And as a result, XRP is now outperforming all other crypto ETFs, including Bitcoin. How's that taste, you little Bitcoin maxi bitches? How does that taste? All up in your facial region, or right on your palate. Look, this is vindication. Everything the XRP community has believed for over a frickin' decade, the utility, the efficiency, the global potential, it's all finally being recognized by the mainstream financial world. And this is only the beginning because ETFs are just the first wave. If this is what day one looks like, think about this. Imagine what month one looks like. If this is day one just for these funds, and obviously the first XRP ETF that launched on November 13th, but if this is day one for those, and look at what's happened from November, can you imagine just a whole month out from here? Can you imagine what 1 year out from this point in time looks like? It's just going to be absolutely massive. And so I'd like to congratulate all of you listening because you figured this out before the rest of the world. And you know what? That's what it takes to get rich in investing. Recognizing the value of an asset before it becomes trendy to believe whatever that thing may be. And in this case, of course, we're talking about XRP. That's what it takes. Recognizing the value of an asset before everyone else agrees, before the rest of the world has figured it all out. And consider this, way less than 1% of humans on the planet have ever owned XRP at any point in history. And despite that being the case, with almost no humans having ever owned it at any point in history, the price already hit an all-time high of $3.65. What do you think is going to happen as adoption continues? It's just going to get more and more ridiculous. And so it's nice to see that crypto media has noticed what we have all noticed in the XRP community for some time, which is that XRP makes freaking sense. But I will say, credit where it's due, to the block, I'm glad that they're highlighting the fact that XRP is dominating Bitcoin's little bitch ass, because Bitcoin is the pet rock of crypto. It just is. It is, technologically speaking, the worst cryptocurrency ever created. And that's fine. Look, if it's always going to be a store of value, even if it's always going to be number one in market cap, I have no qualms with that. I'd like that to be the case. Bitcoin is one of my largest individual crypto holdings, but I'm not going to pretend like it's the most superior piece of technology that's ever been created, certainly not in the world of crypto. Hell no. It's the worst, technologically speaking. But people have adopted it. They like the attributes it offers, and that's fine. I just don't want to pretend like it's the holy grail of crypto when you can't do stuff with it, Like, you can't even do what Satoshi Nakamoto originally envisioned that you should be able to do with it in the Bitcoin white paper, which is to use it as a peer-to-peer cash system. You can't even do that. It's just a store of value. But anyway, so take a look at this headline from the block. Grayscale and Franklin XRP ETFs each clock over $60 million in day one inflows as group outshines Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana funds. And that's the fun piece of this. Now the data's come in and you can see that XRP's outperforming the competition, and by a lot. Take a look at this. Grayscale and Franklin Templeton's new U.S. spot exchange traded funds both witnessed over $60 million in net inflows on their first day of trading via NYSE Arca on Monday, outshining other crypto ETFs. Grayscale's GXRP which converted into an ETF from a closed-end trust, saw $67.4 million in net inflows, while $1.5 trillion asset manager Franklin Templeton's new XRPZ ETF attracted $62.6 million, according to So Value Data. Okay, and then that actually did report in a video yesterday. The rest of it is where it gets more fun. Oh, and also, by the way, I wanted to mention this at the outset. I'm going to cover this in this video. On-chain analytics firm Santiment has some interesting data that I wanted to share with you, and I want to opine on that. I got a few things to say about it, but yeah, it's incredible for XRP in comparison to other coins, including Bitcoin. I'll just say this. Today's a great day if you're an XRP holder. Not quite as much true if you are a Bitcoin holder. Just saying. Anyway, peace continues. Combined with the $16.4 million and $17.7 million brought in by Canary Capital's XRPC and Bitwise's XRP funds, the category saw a total of $164.1 million worth of net inflows for the day. Folks, that is absolutely staggering. $164.1 million in one day for spot XRP ETFs for a coin that we were told for almost half a decade was going to fall out of the top 10 coins by market cap and go to zero. But then this happens. Now, how y'all going to act? It's love to see. And I always believed this would be the case. As long as, XRP wasn't going to be banned in the United States, I always believed that this would be the type of stuff that we'd see. This would be the ultimate outcome, and price follows this stuff. Which is why I'm just going to sit tight. I will hold XRP however frickin' long I need to, because to me, it's effectively a frickin' lottery ticket. It's like winning the lottery in slow motion a little bit, but it is what it is, folks. It's just going to keep that chart. I believe it's just going to keep going up and to the right. Anyway, since launching on November 13th, the pure spot XRP ETFs have registered cumulative net inflows of $586.8 million and have yet to witness any daily outflows. Franklin Templeton, head of ETF product and capital markets, David Mann, described XRP as a digital asset that, quote, plays a foundational role in global settlement infrastructure, end quote. Folks, that is traditional finance right there. That's Franklin Templeton, one of the largest asset managers on the entire freaking planet. They've been around for decades and decades and decades. I can't remember when they were founded now, but very old. 1.7 trillion in assets under management, roughly. And they're saying, turns out XRP literally, quote, plays a foundational role in global settlement infrastructure, end quote. Yeah, you think? See, you listening to this in 2025, this is what I'll say again. Kudos to you, credit where it's due, credit to you and everyone in the XRP community. You figured this out first. And now traditional finance, and institutions, they're coming in after you. That's why so many of you listening who have been around for years and years and years, again, credit, genuine credit, you bought cheaper than the institutions get to, some of the largest institutions. Think about that. It's just incredible here. And they do write this, though. Notably, however, BlackRock has sat out on XRP and other new crypto ETFs, seemingly preferring to focus on its dominant Bitcoin and Ethereum funds, at least for now. Yeah, I'm going to predict this right now, and I don't even think this is like a particularly risky thing to predict. I predict that BlackRock absolutely will one day launch a spot XRP ETF. They're not going to cede this ground to the competition. And the fact that they have to this point, and I've speculated why in previous videos, and in a nutshell, I don't want to go too off on a tangent here, but in a nutshell, I think it has to do with the fact that BlackRock, they're taking the approach that Coinbase kind of took way back in the day, where there were tons of exchanges back in, like, say, 2017 that had, like 100 coins listed or more. Coinbase refused to list additional coins. They wanted to be viewed as the adult in the room, and they were worried about perception from people on the outside looking in, especially, how crypto was viewed, especially back then. And so they just listed 3 coins. In 2017, you could buy 3 coins: Bitcoin, ETH, and Litecoin. That's all that they offered, right? And of course, they gave up a lot of opportunity in the short term. Now, eventually they did expand, and now they hold, I don't even know how many freaking coins they offer now, like all of them, not literally, but a lot of them. Well, I think that concept may be what BlackRock is considering doing here. It looks like, so they're just offering the top 2 in terms of market cap, Bitcoin and Ethereum. But I think, that probably has something to do with, okay, let's just be extra cautious here because we're the largest asset manager on the planet with 11 trillion in assets under management. That's what BlackRock is. It's a big deal. And they're like, if we bungle this thing or something goes off the rails, even if it's a small percentage chance, we're in hot water here. So they're just not willing to suffer those consequences given their place in the world. And so I think that they want to see a success from competitors first. It's speculation, but that very well may be the case. And you might be like, okay. And I thought this at first too. My thinking is, but why would they cede this ground to competition? Why would they let them get the head start? And then it was pointed out to me by somebody else in the community. They're like, he was like, and I think this is pretty compelling reason. They're like, no. BlackRock's, since they're the largest asset manager on the entire freaking planet, they can jump in at any point and eat the lunch of every other competitor in the space. And I get, not that all of the other, ETFs, XRP ETFs would go to zero, but, tons of that volume would immediately flow over to BlackRock because of their position in the world in traditional finance. And I find that argument to be kind of compelling. So I do think that's coming. And then you're just going to see this pick up even more. So like these numbers, they're already staggering just right out the gate for these XRP ETFs. It's going to go way, way, way higher once BlackRock jumps in here. Now, of course, the fun part is right here, which I already told you, but I don't mind reading it here. I like seeing it in writing here. Look at this. Here's the subheading. XRP ETFs outshine Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana flows. Oh, yes, they do. Right, in comparison, the U.S. spot Bitcoin ETF slumped back to net outflows, not inflows, but outflows of $151.1 million on Monday. Spot Ethereum ETFs attracted net inflows of $96.6 million, and spot Solana ETFs brought in $58 million, extending their positive streak since debut to 20 days, totaling $568.3 million. And so obviously, XRP just destroyed them. And so here are the numbers. They're shared by Cryptos R Us. If you want to see the numbers on your screen, them be the flows right there. Look at that. XRP dominating $164 million. And there was this posted by Hunter Horsley. He's the CEO of Bitwise, one of the firms that has launched an XRP ETF in the US. And he wrote the following: about 18 million, and this is from this morning, right? Yeah, this is just this morning, 11:32 a.m. Central Time. He said about $18 million of inflows into the Bitwise XRP ETF, ticker XRP, yesterday. Now, about $135 million in the first 3 days since its launch. That's just so staggering. It says, grateful to investors entrusting Bitwise to steward their assets. Onward. And that is absolutely huge. And here's the So Value website. And at the time I'm recording this video, I'll note in case you're curious, it is 6:11 p.m. Central Time, Tuesday, November 25th, 2025. I was hoping that the numbers would be out for today by the time I'm recording, since obviously in terms of traditional finance, the markets have closed. But this website hasn't updated, and I haven't found another website that has. So I was hoping I'd be able to report the Tuesday numbers in this video, but I couldn't wait any longer. So is what it is if I was going to get another video out. So I'm going to be watching it, though. I'm curious. But still, it's staggering regardless. I doubt that we're going to be disappointed by today's numbers once they're finally published here. And then we had this from on-chain analytics firm Santiment, and this is a fun one. So take a look at this chart. And again, this is from Santiment, and it's fascinating, because it tells I'd say a really clear story about where major assets sit right now. And this right here, this is the 30-day MVRV ratio, which basically measures whether the average wallet that bought in the last month is in profit or sitting at a loss for the various assets on your screen right now, including XRP. And across the board, the market is still underwater, and of course, people are in fear still. We've seen a little bit of a rebound, but still, people are a little shaky, I think it's fair to say, in terms of sentiment. And so, as you can see on the screen here, Cardano is the deepest. It's down about 19%, sitting at what Santiment calls extreme undervaluation. Chainlink is next at what they're calling strong undervaluation, and both Bitcoin and Ethereum are in mild undervaluation territory, with roughly 6% losses for the typical short-term holder. And historically, these deep negative MVRV readings, they're basically the kind of washed out conditions that create opportunities. It is fair to say that. It means that most of the weak hands have already been cleared out. True. No, I still think that's kind of true of XRP, even though it obviously hasn't suffered as much which brings me to what I think is the key point. You know, XRP stands out for a very different reason. XRP is only slightly undervalued at about 4.7%, negative 4.7%. And not because it lacked an opportunity zone, certainly not. It's because it simply didn't get hit as hard as the others in this correction. And that's because XRP continues to show incredible strength in this market, frankly, as it's been doing ever since it first rocketed in price in November of last year. XRP holders clearly weren't blown out, that's for damn sure. And the network didn't go through, the same level of capitulation that we're seeing from Cardano and Link. And it's just so fascinating to know that everywhere you look around the XRP ecosystem, you continue to find evidence that XRP is an obvious early winner in the crypto space, and you love to see it. And so here you go. It's just another piece of evidence, XRP compared to other top coins. It's just more evidence that XRP is resilient as fuck. Look at this. It just holds. This is genuine strength. Can't fake that. It just is what it is. It's just data. And it's also at a time where traditional finance looking a little better than it had over most of the last week. We got a little bit of a rebound. I don't know if you noticed, but the S&P 500 is up. The Russell 2000 is up. I think it was up, I'm not sure if I saw where it closed, but I checked earlier. It was up like 2.2% for the day, which is huge for traditional finance. Those are small cap stocks. That's good. You want that for breadth. And then the NASDAQ 100 was up, NDX. That was nice to see. And so here's the Kobeissi letter, acknowledging a little bit of something here. Look at this. Last week's market crash has been erased. It's funny how quickly things can change. The S&P 500 is now added plus 250 points since Friday's lows. Now above the November 20th high before the crash. That is plus $2.1 trillion in market cap in less than 3 trading days. And this puts the S&P 500 just 2.2% away from entering new all-time high territory. The reality is that the AI revolution has only become larger, the Fed is cutting rates into a hot market, and smart investors want more assets. If you can eliminate the noise, this market becomes incredibly profitable. Own assets or be left behind. Now, the reason I'm highlighting this is because I want to remind you that stocks are risk-on assets. Cryptocurrencies are risk-on assets. When people have an appetite for risk, these are the things they buy if they want to get into financial assets. This is it, okay? And historically, the stock market and crypto, if you zoom out, you can see it on a chart, they absolutely move in tandem. If you zoom in too much, you can see little pockets of time where there's not much of a correlation, but you zoom out, it's very obvious. Very, very obvious. That is the case. And so I just want to say, unless you think that like we're entering a recession and also as a result of that, the stock market's going to fall apart and then crypto falls apart as we go into a risk-off regime in terms of attitude. I mean, if you don't think I don't think that's going to happen. If you don't think that's going to happen, then why would you even worry in the short term? It's just going to get better and better and better. I mean, not that there won't be moves to the downside. I'm not saying that. But it just seems obvious to me that it does not make sense to be a doom speaker at this point. And if the stock market's going to keep going up, what you think crypto is just going to, for the first time in history, it's a 16 plus year history, just not move in tandem? Okay, this time is different. I don't think so. And take a look at this. As far as the Fed rate cut, the speculators, they want a rate cut here. Whether you think that's good or bad, irrelevant. The market wants it. The market will respond favorably. Look at this. Dramatic shift here. It's completely flipped. There's not, look at Polymarket here. And this is a web, I'm not promoting the website or anything, just to be clear. I don't gamble. I've never used this website. I'm not encouraging gambling at all. I'm just showing the data on the screen here, just to be clear. They are not a sponsor or anything like that. I've never had sponsors, actually. But that's my choice. But anyway, so if you look at this, 85% odds now that there's going to be a 25 basis point decrease in the federal funds rate, which just means 0.25% cut. So that would be the third cut this year. Market wants it. Market thinks it's going to get it. And usually the way that Polymarket goes, it actually ends up being correct. So that's another thing. That'd just be another tailwind ultimately should this come to pass. And liquidity's rising. There's just so many reasons to be optimistic for the future. It's just so obvious here. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.